Hello, guys. Welcome to Live with Jacqueline Valdez. I'm super excited to be here today. So we are going to be talking to a special guest. He is a friend as well. I have been on his wonderful show before. He has formerly toured with the Backstreet Boys, Mandy Moore, and he has his own show that you guys might know him from, Food for Action. So I'm super excited and honored to have Mr. Obie Morant here. So welcome to the show.
Hey, Jacqueline, much love. How
Hello,
are you?
hello. I am doing well. How are you doing?
Awesomeness. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, super excited to have you here today. So you have been super busy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, doing the show, and I still create a little music as well.
Oh, okay.
But mostly, I'm on this mission. The Food
Yes,
for Action
yes,
mission.
yes. So tell everyone about your journey.
Yeah. So I come from a musical family, literally deep. Like my father is a jazz innovator from the South Carolina. He's one of the jazz pioneers. You can read him in books and everything about him in books and things. My mom, classical cellist from the exact opposite world, and they met in music school. And then the next thing you know, there was a bunch of us running around. so and then from there, we performed as kids with them, with my dad on stage, and we and we obviously all grew up to really be inclined to stay there and keep that focus. And so we all are still involved in musical things. One of my brothers is like a huge producer writer.
Nice.
I'm a medium-sized producer writer, and a platinum or so to my credit. And then, but not. I can't touch what he's done, but then I'm more of the performance guy. So I play several instruments and I've toured with many people, like you mentioned, Backstreet Boys. Now I have to say one thing. I don't want to get in trouble from you or anybody else.
Okay.
I wrote for Mandy Moore. I didn't get to tour with her. Didn't get to tour with her. So maybe that was a typo in the information I sent you. So my apologies. But I've been able to perform and write and studio stuff with many people that just phenomenal in the Christian world as well, secular and Christian music. So it's been an awesome journey. I fell onto something, I guess where my story flips is that in 2000, the end of 2009, beginning of 2010, I started suffering some physical debilities, and nobody could find out what they were, and it was very painful for me because I'm performing in places and doing my daddy thing at the same time, and the next thing it grew and progressed, and then it took till 2015 with some improper procedures and all kind of things to happen that I was finally diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. Because at that point, there was no medication that could take it out of my system. It had been in my system for too long, doing too much work.
Oh, wow.
But guess what? It's a trial, and it's part of my testimony, and I stay strong. There's some days where I don't want to look at anybody or myself either. But most days I get up and I fight, and I have something to fight for, as you know, now with Food for Action.
Yeah. I love that you're such a huge inspiration with that. And you really took, a difficult time, and it took a lot of years of really, I can relate in that situation of stuff being wrong with you and not finding the answers and not knowing what's wrong, and, feeling like you don't know what's going to happen, and feeling like, is everything really okay? Is this in my head? Like, what is going on here? Why can no one not find anything? And just like you said, trial and error, and certain things not being diagnosed right away. So
yeah, and you're correct. I mean, it's one of those situations where hopefully there's probably millions of people out of the 80 millions and so on, 100, I don't know, 300, whatever the number of people are. There's a very small percentage of people that have to go through this, fortunately, that where you actually live a life that is so full and so active and so complete, and then it all just flips on you, and then you have to find a strength, inner strength, to push past that to stay focused long enough, which is an untimely thing. And you stay focused long enough that eventually you're given a purpose that supersedes all of that, which is where I am now. I owe it to God. I believe in God. I'm a Christian man. But again, as you know, I talk to people of all belief systems, and I validate it all because it's all important. And everybody has an experience and a walk. And so that's where I find my strength, also from having cool conversations with cool people like you.
I know. I had so much fun when you had me on your show, which was already last year. It's so crazy how fast.
But it was so awesome, and I missed you. And it's like, well, because there's like a certain way that there's like this business way that you have to deal with people. I want to call everybody later and be like, hey, how you doing? What's going on?
Yes.
But you kind of can't. You know what I mean? Like there's this little invisible line. So just know that I wanted to give you high fives a lot.
You can. We're friends now. It's okay. I understand though. Yeah. And I love that you said, when your world is totally flipped upside down from, being super active and being on tour and writing for people and doing all these crazy things, and then to having something change your world, how did you just stay? I know you found your focus through God and your purpose, but how did you stay so humble and so positive and not turn into, the negative aspect of it?
Because I did have a phase like that at one point. I did have the frustrated, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm drinking a couple too many at the gig and I'm getting pissed off at everybody that I play with because I'm Mr. Perfectionist and all that stuff. So I had that, and I've had to go back since then and apologize to every single person. But I also was thrown into, God picked me up and moved me to a whole different environment. I went from South Carolina, where I was raising my daughter, all the way to Ohio. He took me out of everything that I knew so that I had to come to a different focus and a different humble nature in order to, I'm creating new relationships and so on. And then that made me rekindle old relationships, which you've seen. Some of the people that come on my show are people I know from way, way a long time ago,
right,
when I was like 150 pounds. And so those are the kind of things that happen. And we just have to, you keep close friends. You're kind of, it's kind of like you're being humbled, but you're also playing a role in the humbling. You're looking at yourself and you're checking yourself at the same time. People talk about checking themselves and addressing your problems and facing the mirror and all that stuff. And most people kind of just say it. Yeah. But when you are physically put into a helpless situation, you don't have any choice. True. You literally have to seek the love of other people, seek the friendship, seek the aid, the guidance, the support, all those things that you thought you could do by yourself, So it's definitely an interesting journey. You would have loved like a bunch of my life, and then some of it you would have been like, he's a bleep.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. And that's hard to picture that because you are just so open and so giving and just so kind and really, using your platform and your voice to really make a shift in the world and really inspire others and really, share knowledge to people.
Yeah, and again, that's part of, to me, the godly process is that, he's opened me up to communicating more freely with more people. He's opened me up to understanding and being able to receive other people's information and other people's experiences, lifestyles, and so on. And that really does fester is a horrible word, but in this sense, I'm saying that it literally festers in a good way. It just becomes this whole, like every time you experience this new conversation or this new engagement, it's like, oh snap, that's a new love. Oh dang, so you're kind of compounding this whole love and thing. Now, I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying and think that I'm trying to tell people that it's all love, because it's not. I'm frustrated. I'm crying. I'm hurting. I'm frustrated at times with things that people say to me, either in comments within posting or under my stuff. So I deal with a very sticky subject that is thorny or it's smushy and lovable. So it just depends on who it's coming from, and you have to learn how to just be able to take it all in. Every person is not meant to do it. I'm just going to tell you that. It's not meant for everybody. It takes a lot of thick skin, but I believe again that if I didn't endure some of the things that I did, get stripped away of some of the things that I did, I don't think I'd have the skin for it.
Yeah. Because you do talk about, and you do bring up different subjects and different posts that you make on social media that are, like you said, sticky subjects and subjects that some people don't want to hear about or talk about.
Yes.
And it's stuff that should be talked about.
Correct. For example, the last show that I did, no, the one before that, I literally was talking about Christianity, being hypocritical, and racism and politics all in one show. That's like ridiculous, and it creates like a lot of unfriends. So, but it has to be broached, because if nobody talks about it, like if everybody sits down and parses everything and says, okay, I'm going to just focus on this, and then one day I'll just focus on that, you might miss some of the ears that need to hear it. Rather they run away halfway through or not, it still got in. I think that's the part of engagement that is so lost, is that we don't expect that we're going to have a full conversation with everybody.
Yeah.
Some of those conversations are going to be way partial.
Yeah.
Like 10 seconds and then they're out. You know what I mean?
True.
That's the nature of things that are abrasive, because that's how they're taken. I always explain that I'm doing it in love. I always explain my Christianity. I always explain my validation to people, and the love that I'm trying to extend to people. Right. But I also explain that it's important for somebody, or somebody's plural, to express all of the ugly stuff with a good heart.
Yes,
exactly. You know what I mean? Because I'm not yelling at anybody, and whatever. I'm letting you be heard. I'm inviting you to the platform to share all the ugliness, if it has to be that. Whatever it needs to happen, so that everybody can start to understand what other people are dealing with. And I think it's important. I think the racist views are just as important as the non-racist views or the anti-racist views, because they all are part of each other, the journey. You know what I mean? One action, an action, and then a reaction, and then another reaction, or a non-reaction from the people who sit on the sidelines and do that, so on. So it's all related.
And they're twined together. Yeah. Knowledge is power too. So you know how to understand another person's point of view and work through it. What are some of the controversial topics that you've talked about on your show?
So the one that the one that's popular, the one that I feel again convicted to talk about these days, literally, is the Christian folks who tend to subscribe to Trumpism, or tend to pick and choose sin, pick and choose, they'll talk about how devoutly Christian they are, but then they're supporting a politician who is, grabbing people in the P word, and overtly engages in racism or the promoting of it. Those things, which are so prevalent now, I wonder, how did you choose that? How, as a Christian, did you choose that? And I even put, look, I go to scripture on you. So I point out the scripture, which literally makes what you just did to make that decision, makes that itself a sin. And so I point out those kind of things, because that's important, because some people when you're it's one of the most, besides what I went through, it's another painful position that so many people are dealing with, is they're looking for something to believe in. They're looking for a belief system. They're broken folk. And when they're looking for that, they get sucked into, a lot of times, the wrong quote unquote church. We know the church is God and the people, but the building and the other parts of it, they get sucked into the wrong one. And when that happens, they sure will get some good principles out of it, because hopefully there's some God's word coming in there. But at the same time, there's some of those underlying values that are chosen by the people that run things, that are so misguided, and they put people in the wrong path. They put people in a hypocritical path. So I was speaking about this today, and I don't want to keep going, but I was speaking to someone, a young lady that I just met recently, and she's a white girl with a black daughter. And so we're speaking about some of this, and we literally get into that conversation about how people, when you're in one of those types of church environments, because they're always fluffing over everything. They're always saying, "Oh, we love you. Oh, we love everybody. Oh, everybody should be here. Oh, we don't see color, or we don't see this, and we don't see that." And I'm like, whoa, that's not what the Bible teaches. We're supposed to be observant of all. We're supposed to be studying all. We're supposed to be seeking all knowledge. We're supposed to be so there's things that we're supposed to be engaged with that are actually things that point out the realities of society. Not that you're supposed to grab onto worldliness and love it, but you're supposed to realize it all, acknowledge it all, and then and help people deal with it along with yourself.
Yeah.
Too many churches are not doing that. So that's one of my big ones in this season.
I love it. How many seasons have you been going?
Well, actually, this is the funny thing, because to me, it's all one season.
Okay.
So, I've literally only been doing this since June. For your folks and friends, and any of my folks and friends that may have tuned in, may have heard this story before, but I literally was sitting on my couch after the string of highly profiled murders: George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, those three in particular. And I was sitting on my couch, and I was literally, like, in my mind, all of the things that I had grown up dealing with, listening to people. Can I say a real word?
Yeah.
Okay. People calling my mom the N-word, or I like to say the word, and I don't say it because of glorifying it, but I say the word because people need to understand that it is a real hurtful, harmful word. So people calling my mother a nigger lover, people calling my father a nigger, people calling us as children, what are we, and all that stuff. We lived that. If I dated a white girl and I was driving down the road, all of a sudden there's like some dude in a truck with a rebel flag in the back of the truck chasing me and literally trying to run me off a road and kill me. Those things, I grew up living that. And so all those things are reflecting in my brain. Again, please forgive me if I use the word if it's not supposed to be on your platform, but I had to say that because that's important. So and all these emotions and reflecting on all this stuff at the same time of seeing how high profile this stuff is now. And the next thing you know, I'm crying. I grabbed for my computer. In the first time, I hated Facebook and Instagram and social media, period. I literally had a profile because my Smunchkin, my daughter, beautiful princess, she's 25, she's great. She made me build a profile in 2010, I think it was. And so all I would do was put, like, if there was something happening in church, boom, or if there was a music project that was, important, or, that kind of stuff. Or if my family or friends wanted me to look at something, that's all I did with it. Then when the chronic Lyme disease thing happened and I found a peace and a strength, then I started posting those types of things. So that was it for social media. But I felt myself reaching for my computer. This is literal. And I'm crying. And I'm going to type in the computer, what I was feeling and what I was, the reflection. And so, and because of my Lyme disease, I couldn't move. Sometimes I get these things where I can't, things freeze up on me and whatever, muscle nerve scenario. So that happened. And I literally just reached out and clicked the camera and just started talking.
Wow.
And that is how this thing was born. This Food for Action thing was born. People liked to hear what I said. They wanted me to do it again, blah, 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 blah. And I'm still a little guy on the totem pole of, of talk and activism. But as well as most that I'm in this till my last breath.
Yes. How did you come up with the name Food for Action?
That is a great question, and I always wanted to say that because I watched so many shows, music shows, and everything, and the guest goes, "That is a great question." But I've never been able to say that because I'm always asking the questions. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity. That is a great question. So, as would have it, I have never said that either. I literally. It just came to me. It's like that old expression that people told you when you was bad or when you was an idiot when you was growing up like me, and they would say, "Look, let me tell you something. This is some food for thought." And I was like, you know what, food for thought, but that's like I don't want it to stop there.
Yeah,
I don't want it to just be, hey, let's think about it, because plenty of people just think about it and then what happens?
Yeah,
I want you to process the thought, share the thought, and let the thought morph into an action. Let it morph into you actually doing something, getting up. And so, so that is Food for Action, huh?
I love it. Such an incredible story. Yeah. And I love how the whole journey just kind of really pushed you through. And, from childhood to the Lyme disease to everything, it really pushed you to your purpose and really fueled your fire that's, driving you.
Amen. And I'm so thankful for all of it. Yeah. Every tear, every ouch, every scream, every can't sleep for 3-4 days. I'm thankful for all of it. And I really want to, like, someday, I'm not a big writer, right? But one of these days I would love to, like, put it in a book, but probably an audio book. Like, has anybody ever just done an audio book with no papers attached? Like, usually there's a book and an audio book, right?
Right.
Has anybody ever done just the audio? Because that would be me. Because I just can't put it on paper.
Yeah.
It would turn out really, really bad. Like, I would have to have like 120 ghostwriters because they'd have to keep up with my fast way of talking and all that. So I don't know.
I love it. We are like connected. I have so much like parallel lines here with you because as growing up, unfortunately, I was bullied for many years. And I can't remember if I told you when I was on your show, but I was bullied for being Hispanic. I went to a Catholic school all the way up until 8th grade. And, I was the darkest one in the class, which is like, I'm olive skin. I'm not really that dark, but, and I had boyfriends that were white and I was always, discriminated for being with them for, and mixed and all that. And then having the illness that I have too, and things kind of, switching up. And I would love to do a book one day too, but I don't have the patience to write.
Look, I don't even read anymore. The only book that I still listen. Let me see. I have my Bible, and every now and then I'll like look back at when I used to take notes in it. But I audio Bible it. I do this thing. It's called pedaling, praying, and audio Bibling, and that's where the Bible comes in. And other than that, I don't. Yeah. I just can't. Like when I went back to school as an adult. In 2005, and me and my Smunchkin used to do homework together. It was the greatest thing ever. And because she's doing little kids work and I'm doing big kids work, and we're sitting at a pool table because I didn't like real furniture, so but this is probably not even show worthy. So I bought a pool table because I love to play pool and she loved pool. We knocked the balls around and whatever, but I cover it up. And then that would be our dinner table too, or our studying table.
Okay.
Yeah, we sat on bean bags,
How
no couch.
fun.
That was great. For Christmas one year, I bought I like all the stuff that you see in a store, the inflatable Christmas tree, the lights and candy cane lights that people put on their driveways. Those were in the house. I had like all the great outdoor decorations were
Very
in.
cool.
Awesome. It was like I don't know if I should say this, but it was like Dr. Seuss in the house.
Fun.
But anyways, yeah.
Love
So
it. Yeah, you
like
definitely
took me away. So sorry about that.
I love it. No, you definitely are, having so much fun with things and you're really making such a difference. What tips would you give someone who is wanting to start a show, who's wanting to start something to, really shine light among other people and really talk about subjects that people are saying are taboo?
Yes. Guess what? Another good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the same. What I say this every time. I believe. Hopefully, I never leave it out. Is that I don't subscribe to anybody how to do it.
Yeah.
I just subscribe that they do it. So that means that you have to do as much homework, as much seeking it out, the information, as much gaining knowledge, as you said, as much talking and engaging with people so that you can find out where you fit in to the mission. You have to, because if you apply yourself just anywhere, just to say, hey, I'm going to talk on a show, or I want to, organize a march. Well, maybe your march or your show will be a disaster because that's not what you're good at. That's not your thing. So it really depends on tapping into what it is that are your strengths. How do you communicate the best? What are your tools? What are you armed up with? And that's going to determine. And then of course your conviction. Yeah. What bothers you about what's going on? What excites you about what's going on? And when you find all of those things, when you formulate those opinions, because it's all still opinions, when you formulate those things, then that's going to guide you into how to outsource it, what's your platform, where do you want to do this and how do you want to do it? And that's the only way. If you just are grasping for straws, it's going to be it could be helpful to somebody, but it could be more of a train wreck.
That's true. I love it. Those are great gems you're dropping. Well, and I feel like, right now during the pandemic, a lot of people are seeing people blow up on YouTube, on Instagram, and everyone wants a show now. Everyone wants, to be famous. Everyone wants to get overnight sensation,
That to me is the harmful part of it all, because when you're doing a purposeful work like you do, like I do, when you're doing things to help people strengthen their insides and their, all that, when you're trying to do that, that requires, like I said, conviction, but it also requires so much humbleness. Your objective is not to become big.
Yeah.
May you? Sure. Yeah. Your objective is to touch one person at a time.
Yes.
And if you're doing that, if you touch one person in a month, but you truly touch them, then your job is done and you should be happy and fulfilled and feeling full for that person. Of course, we want to continue to do more work so that it can be 100 and then 1,000 and then 1 million and whatever comes next. But the objective is not fame. The objective is not stardom. The objective is not even this kind of platform at all. Your objective might be to make sure that you touch every neighbor in your community.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yes. And I feel like, if you come from a good place, and we should come from a place of wanting to make a difference one person at a time, one neighbor at a time, and, till it's 1 million, 1 billion at a time.
Amen. Amen.
And just really making a difference.
Yes. Without people that have the desire to make a difference, there will never be a difference. And all of the ugly that was created, unfortunately, people don't like to point this out. I know we're running out of time. I see your clock and I apologize, but I have to say this. it is so important that people understand that most of what this world, but for people with shorter sight, this nation, this country, America, was formed on, was founded upon, are not positive principles.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but most of the deepest things that are interwoven through all the systems that are created, that means the health system, that means political system, that means the educational system, the healthcare system, every system that you can think of that exists has so much deep-seated and deep interwoven ugliness that that's the ugliness also means pain.
Yeah.
It also means struggle, fight, oppression. It means so many things that are bad. And so we have to seek that stuff out. And we have to find a purpose in knowing and the strength to take the time to discover what all that stuff is.
Yeah.
That made what we are living in today.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that, yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. What exciting stuff do you have coming up for you?
So again, I'm doing this until I cannot breathe, till there is the last breath that I have. But I also am working on some new music things that I will let you know about. But I've been back in touch with some people, so it's more on the creative side of the music. Stage is probably, a little bit here and there, but not too much, just because of still the physical condition scenario. But there will be some new stuff that people can hear soon with some cool people. So that's going to be awesome. And again, I'll let you know as soon as that happens. But other than that, food for action and finding somebody that's strong enough and brave enough to do a book with me.
I love it. But you put it out there. You guys heard it here first.
That's right. If you have the strength to write about my life, listening to my mouth, listen, we got a New York best time seller, whatever the heck they call it. If you can help me do that.
I love it so much. And I love that you're going back to the music and that you are being inspired to, get back into that.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I've never left music.
Right.
I just left the ability to be able to full-time music. So I've been blessed with, even like when I got to Ohio, I have friends in Columbus and friends in in the Cleveland area, and they'll hire me to come play. And they see that I'm going through certain fatigue at points. They'll let me sit down while they continue doing acoustic sets or whatever else. So I'm still able to do stuff, thankful to those new relationships. But I still create, like the music that I use on my show sometimes, the intro things. That's my original stuff. And so it's coming. It's still around and it's coming. And
very cool. What's your inspiration for writing?
Oh my gosh, that's been again, that's deep seated in dad and mom and life. I think it's all been about that. All the silence that I've had to deal with growing up, all of the non-answers were translated through the desire to create, to touch people. And even though things weren't specifically verbally written that way, the motivation, the you know what I mean? Like I used to work days and days at a time without sleeping just to make sure I'm always creating something with somebody somehow or another. So so it's I think it all comes from the same place, and God, what. So
I love it so much. Yeah, you just have so much creativity in you. And, like I've said before, I know people have heard me say a lot of beautiful things come out of people that have had a hard life or have struggles or have had a lot of traumas.
Yes, the most beautiful things come from that. Because, people used to say that about, the classic country music, and that is that's the sadness and the pain and the loss of a girlfriend and a wife and whatever, those things, that's a song forever. Those kind of things don't ever stop that. will I ever write the ultimate chronic Lyme disease song? I don't know. I'm not sure about that one, but maybe the pain transformed verbally, with some kind of pseudo poetic thing that I do.
Right.
Maybe that will maybe
come from it. I love it. And I love that you still have such a sense of humor and you're so humble. As far as the Lyme disease, how is that? How are you managing that?
Yeah. So at this point, so again, it's because of the strength. So once I found out that everything that is at least, has been discovered at this point, I've done everything. So all procedures and so on, except for these shots. I do 2 shots. They're called stellate ganglion blocks, and they go in towards here in your neck, and they put this thing in there, and it takes about 45 minutes if you got a good doctor, and then they put this medicine straight to your thing. It's like epidurals and all those things, except a little bit more intense, and so that's twice a month for me now, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I do fundraisers when I get to those points. So I did a fundraiser that took me from the end of last year through till April. And so I'll do that because just as a lot of people, because of pandemic, but before that, I work-ish. So, you know what I mean? So because of that, there's no healthcare in what I do. So
I understand. Yeah. And it's hard the way the whole medical system works and the way insurance works. It's a shame that, it's really challenging for people to pay for medical services and stuff like that. And it adds up.
They're so overpriced.
Yeah.
Everything. There's the competition is limited because the people with the biggest dollars run everything. So you don't have your choice really, as they say that you're supposed to. And I feel so bad for people that have life-threatening diseases because they deal with something that I couldn't even fathom. With if you're not rich and you are dealing with a form of cancer that is life-threatening, I don't know how you do it, and prayers and so on. So
yeah, it's scary for sure. What advice would you give someone who just got diagnosed with Lyme disease, and what steps to take, and what are some of the symptoms that you have and some of the things you've had to deal with?
Yeah. So for me, I've dealt with muscle and nerve problems the most. Muscle nerve pain, muscle nerve debilitation. So that means that like I fell down flights of stairs because my muscles would stop working, and then I tore my rotator cuffs in both shoulders, and those are the kind of things that I've had to deal with. But other people, they have, people have different symptoms. Some people don't have muscle things at all. They might just have series of rashes, and they might have like the headaches. Like I have headaches every day, which is why I have these glasses. They're prescription and shade glasses, so I'm almost cool at the same time.
I love it.
So there's so many different symptoms that people can go through. So what I say first is that when you find out that you're in a lengthened Lyme disease battle, or a chronic, as I have, then you have to literally understand what patience is, because you're not going to get the medical attention that you need without it, because it's so far in between. I mean, you'll go to so many doctors in the biggest universities that will say, I don't know why you're having that pain.
Wow.
But then there are people, now there's some specialists that charge, $59 million because they're specialists in Lyme disease and different, these different sets of pills and things that I don't go that route, but some people do. Some people do. That, everybody's got their thing. And So if you can seek out that kind of money, then uh, uh,
Yeah.
prayers. But again, patience is what you need to get through, to walk through something like this, and a belief in more than just yourself. I love people who talk about self-love. I love people who talk about all those kind of things. But at the same time, remember that you have to have something else to walk alongside. There's got to be another source of where you can find your inspiration and pull strength from.
I love
Look,
that.
does everybody have to be a Christian? It's not my decision. I'm not the judge.
Yeah.
But you have to have something that's more powerful than you
Yeah.
to help you get through stuff. You can't just love yourself to life.
Yeah.
That's only a partial. It's like an ingredient
Yeah.
in making it through this walk. You know, I hope I'm not
I
pissing
love
off
that.
all of the people that talk about self-love, because I'm not downing that.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting it. I'm saying that it can't just be that.
Yeah. 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 And I think that's such a great tip because, some people might just see that they have to do self-love and then they get frustrated and impatient with themselves because they're like, it's not working. And
Right.
so to know that you have to have some kind of goal or finding the thing that fires you up and
Yeah.
that stirs your passion or something that calls you to action.
Absolutely. Listen, one of the things that I think is the coolest thing ever, I don't know if people still talk about this, but when I was growing up, one of the biggest things that people would tell you is, if you want to be rich, hang around some rich people.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful, hang around successful people. Well, that's the same thing when it comes to finding strength. If you want to find strength, if you want to find and tap into ways to find your purpose and to how to overcome things and so on, then you need to surround yourself with people that know how to do those things, and probably many different forms so that you can pick the one that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. That's amazing advice. Yes, guys.
Great questions.
Thank you very much. Was there anyone that you wanted to do a special shout out to?
Yes. Obviously, my Smunchkin is the bestest Smunchkin ever. I don't care what anybody says about your children. I love your children too, but my Smunchkin is the best, and she has been literally vitamins for my system when it comes to everything. She is stronger than any medicine, and I know that God gave her to me for all of the purpose, all of the purpose of all the things that I've had to deal with, rather they were good or bad. She's always been an ingredient in each and everything. And so shout outs to my Smunchkin, and shout outs to you. Keep doing what you do, man. You provide a service that is invaluable. You make people feel the need to be healthy. You feel the need to be alive, and that's not an easy task. So much shouts to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. What is it that you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for excuse me. I want people to remember the strength and the desire to want to communicate with everybody. That's a desire that very few people tap into. We tap into those things for moments. But we don't have the desire to really connect and communicate, where it becomes understanding, where it becomes development of new thoughts and new appreciations, and new strength. And we can get that from the worst of worst, or who we deem to be the worst of worst, as well as the best of best. We always think that, okay, the good people, quote unquote, or the famous people, or the whatever. But there are people that are spewing the ugliest things in the world, and you can find an inspiration because of the connection that you may have with that person when you engage. And I found this out, and I want people to know that if it's the last thing, that I'm a good daddy, and that I help people understand a new way of communicating, which makes this world better.
Oh, and
So
you are doing
sad,
that.
man.
Oh, you are doing that. You're such a huge inspiration, and you are just opening up so many doors and lines of communication and showing all these different viewpoints that are so needed. And I know that your daughter is super proud of you.
Well, I hope so. I believe she is too. We laugh a lot, and
Yeah.
so, but my thanks to you for allowing me to express all these things on your platform. It's definitely a blessing, and I hope that a lot of your listeners and followers will be encouraged to check out Food for Action too.
Yes, yes. It has been so much fun and such a pleasure and such a beautiful conversation.
Yes, listen. I thank you again, and
Yes.
I got mad love for you. So we got to hook up soon, okay?
Yes, definitely. We will keep in touch. Thank you
Amen.
for illuminating the world with your
And
presence.
let's talk about these books.
Yes. We'll have to do a book unison together and then celebrate.
Amen.
Cheers.
Amen. I bet you. Listen, I bet you whoever is strong enough to write your book will be strong enough to write mine, and whoever is strong enough to do mine will do yours. So we'll have to keep in contact about that.
Yes,
So,
yes.
thank you again. Thank you
Yes.
again, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
You're awesome. You're awesome. Love you.
I love you too. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching Live with Jacqueline Valdez, illuminating the world one voice at a time. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Lots of love and light.